Hello and welcome to this tutorial on how to set up a Windows Server 2003 domain controller and DNS server. Um, just first a disclaimer, at times it may seem like I have two mice, but that's because I'm actually running a virtual machine. So one of them is my regular mouse and one of them is my virtual mouse, if you might. So please don't get confused. So to start, click on the Start menu and under Administrative Tools, bring up the Manage Your Server screen and click on Add or Remove a Server Role. uh, the initial steps, click on Next. This will start the configuration wizard. Now, as you can see here, there are a few different options. The one we're interested in, obviously, is the Domain Controller Active Directory option. You could set up any of the other options from this screen as well, but that's not part of this tutorial. So select Domain Controller Active Directory and click Next, followed by another Next to initiate the Active Directory installation screen. Here on the wizard screen, click on Next again. It will prompt you for operating system compatibility. That's fine. Click Next. What we want is a domain controller for a new domain. So click this option and hit Next. We want a brand new domain. We don't have an existing domain, so we don't need any of the other options. And then click Next. Here, for the domain name, you have to enter a fully qualified domain name. For this example, I'm going to enter digioztest.local. And it could be anything as format is domain name dot extension. And click Next. So for the NetBIOS name, the default is fine. It takes the first part of my fully qualified domain name, and I'm happy with that. Click Next. Here again, the default directories are fine. I'm going to accept those and hit Next. As well as for shared system volume, I'm going to accept the default. The only time you wouldn't accept the defaults on those is if you are running out of disk space and you want to put them in a different location. So for DNS registration diagnostics, just choose the second option here to install and configure DNS server on this computer. On this next screen, it's a compatibility issue. Again, the default option is fine. We are going to click Next. And here, I'm going to enter a password for the restore. Make sure you type it the same way twice. And hit Next. Followed by Next to initiate the installation. Now the Active Directory installation wizard is going to go through a couple of different things. It's going to set up the system volume for the log files, and it's going to set up Active Directory. Once it is done, it should prompt us with a finish screen followed by a reboot, which we will wait for. As you can see, it is still setting up the directories for our Active Directory installation, and it should be done in a few moments. Okay, now it switched over to the configuring components screen, and this is where it actually prompts you for the CD for your Windows 2003 CD, which I will insert in this machine. And this will continue the installation process for the DNS server portion of our installation now. The domain controller the setup should be done at this point, so the DNS installation process is a whole different process. If you get the Windows 2003 screen, make sure to exit out of it. You don't want to run anything while the system is getting configured. Now, depending on how you have configured your network, you may get this prompt here, which is for optional networking component. Because I am running a dynamic IP locally, it's prompting me that you can change this to a static IP, which I'm not going to do, obviously. If I wanted to do it, I would go here under TCP/IP properties and say use the following IP address. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cancel out of there. It will prompt you that you've chosen to use a dynamic IP. It's not very reliable, but for our demonstration purpose, it's fine. If you were in a live environment, you would want to reserve an IP address for your domain controller. That doesn't change. So that would be for a production environment. But for testing purposes, dynamic IP should be fine. It will now continue the Active Directory DNS configuring process. The installation process actually takes quite a bit longer than what you see here on the screen. I have been cutting out some of the time that it takes to configure just for the sake of this tutorial, because the screen doesn't really change during the bulk of the installation. It just remains the same for a lot of different parts, so I'm just cutting it down a little bit to make it more manageable. So this is it. Once your installation is complete, you will get a prompt similar to the Active Directory prompt you see on the screen, and if you hit finish, it will prompt you to restart, which you have to do in order to complete the installation process. So I will click on restart now to restart the machine. Okay, so the machine is now starting up, and we should be prompted with the login screen at this point shortly. Okay, so here's our login screen. I'm going to Control Alt Delete to log in. Notice that under options, if you click on the options button, we now have the option to log on to our domain name, which I chose to be DigiJahaz Test. So I'm going to log on to the domain name. As the domain administrator, I should have full machine access, so should be able to log into the machine as the administrator. Once we have successfully logged in, I should be prompted that this machine is now a domain controller shortly. And there it is. The server is now a domain controller. So once you get this screen, it means that your installation has been successfully completed. You can click on Finish to finish the process and exit out. Now, if you have any other PCs on your network, you would essentially be adding them to this machine, and you'll be using this machine as the domain Active Directory controller. Now, if you were to remove this Active Directory domain, which I'm not going to do, but I'm just going to hint at, if you ever had the need to uninstall this domain that you just created, all you would do is select the domain controller option here again and hit next, and this would remove the domain from the server. Thanks for listening. I hope that this information comes in handy.